Greetings. This is Brother Jackie and Brother Steve and Brother CJ, and we're here today. This is the Sabbath, where we're going in past the Sabbath into the night now, to the evening, into Sunday. So we are here to discuss a vision, some visions, and some dreams. I wanted to share a vision with you that I had about a year ago while I was here in South Carolina. The dream had to do with being invaded by the Russians and the Chinese. I was asleep, and suddenly, in a night vision, I saw these poor farmers in a barn. This family and their children, and they were hiding up under the straw where they had buried themselves to hide from the Chinese. I could see the Chinese. I could see they looked like North Koreans and the Chinese with their guns and these like these knives on the end of them. What do you call them, brothers?
Bayonets.
Bayonets. And they had broke the door down with these guns, and they went in and they had found the family and the children hiding under the straw, the hay, and they slaughtered them. They killed them, stabbed them, and they did some kind of martial arts on them. Also identifying the Chinese, what they do, one of their weapons. And so, after this, I was carried to the west coast of California, a port, and there was this port that was being invaded by the Chinese. There was a man who looked like William Shatner, a movie star. And the Chinese had taken a machete and they sliced this guy's head down the side. And he was running, I'm telling you, like the rich man, he was running like it was his last day had come upon him, comparing to the book of James. But anyway, I saw fire. And then people were being killed. They were being killed and being attacked. The next thing I saw was the next part of the vision. That vision was there was these Chinese fighter jets that were like in a wide row in the heavens coming across, in the sky coming across, flying over us. They were headed northward. And I believe they'd come up from Florida, from the Panama Canal. I believe they came up from Mexico, on into Texas, and around through the west coast of California. Is where I saw us being invaded. The next part of the vision was, as the Chinese were flying over us, as they were taking over, it looked like as though they were going to turn and go to Russia. And that didn't make sense. So when I woke up, all of a sudden, it came to me, why would the Chinese be going to Russia, over here invading us? And I heard the voice speak to me and said, they're not going to Russia. Russia is coming down from Alaska, or from the north. So it tells you here that who we're going to be in war with first, who's going to invade us first. And that could be over Taiwan, not counting all the debt we owe them. So I wanted to share that vision with you. And it was just a few days ago, maybe a week ago, wasn't it, CJ? that you had a vision about
Couple
these
of weeks. Yeah.
these drone helicopters, and I'm gonna let him describe that to you.
And we were on our hands and knees praying, seeking the Lord. And in the middle of me praying, I had a vision of best way I could describe it is just the propeller part of a helicopter without the cab part of it. And it was as plain as, I'm sitting here looking at my brothers here. Um, but it was unlike anything I'd ever seen. It was just the propeller part of a helicopter. And under this propeller, it had rings. And in the rings, there were bombs in these rings that went around in circles, you know. And the vision I could see so clearly, I could see there was really long green bombs, and I could see the pitting in the metal. It was so detailed. And I saw the bombs being dropped, and it had to have been by remote control of some sort because there was, like I said, these were unmanned helicopters. And after we were through praying, I shared this vision with the brothers, and I believe Brother Jackie, when y'all were in Washington, y'all saw this very thing on the news you were telling me about.
Yes, we did. Matter of fact, it was, I believe, a couple of weeks later. We were in Washington, D.C. before the Senate.
We were in Senator James DeMint's office. That's exactly where we saw the drone prototype.
My wife, Sister Kim, was as we were waiting for meetings. My wife had all of a sudden she said, "Look up!" There was a TV there on the wall. She said, "Look up! This is CJ's vision, and it's the first helicopter with a propeller of drones that is carrying these. How would you put it? They were CJ. They were like
there were rings underneath the blades that carried the bombs, and these rings would actually open up to drop the bombs by remote control.
And that's exactly what Kim saw. And she said, "Look up, that's CJ's vision." And so, this is no coincidence of the Lord doing all this, or warning us, or giving us all kinds of warnings, visions, and dreams to get ourselves prepared and ready to get right with God. Because if we're not right with God, we're gonna be right in the midst of all this chaos while it's going on. But I believe God will make a way for His people in the places that He leads them and puts them in for this specific time. He has to intervene for His people before this happens. So we need to be seeking God on what God would have us to do. Now, on our way back from Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago, us three and sisters and my wife, we stopped in Indiana, and I'm going to let Brother Steve explain what we picked up on there. Brother Steve.
Well, we were making a long day of it. We were going to try to get the trip done in 2 days instead of 3. So we pushed on farther than we normally do, and we were coming upon Seymour, Indiana, and the Franklin, Indiana area. And we discovered in our stops that in all of the cities within 100 miles we couldn't get a hotel room. And the hoteliers told us that there was military maneuvers on a base near the interstate, and that the government was putting up personnel and private contractors and booking all the rooms within 100 miles of this. It's called the Jefferson Proving Ground, which is just north of Madison, Indiana. And we finally, about 5 o'clock in the morning, did find a hotel room and could not understand what these maneuvers were all about. But as the week progressed and as the news reports have come forth, we understand now what is happening in Indiana with our military and why we're seeing all these reports in the Franklin, Indiana area, Seymour, Madison, Indiana, of uh, drone aircraft sightings all over the Indiana area, and it has to do with this Jefferson Proving Ground. I did a little research on the internet about Jefferson Proving Ground, and it used to be an ammunitions proving ground for the U.S. Army, and now it is also inclusive as a military and preparation readiness headquarters. And what that's telling me is that these maneuvers, what they're doing is they're preparing for war. But who are they preparing the war with, for, and where? And why are they doing the maneuvers here in the United States, right here in our own backyard? And I think as this video progresses, you'll understand what is happening.
Amen. Yes, and are we going to war with China and Russia about the debt that we owe? We understand that they would not want to destroy the infrastructures. And so Brother Steve had mentioned something a few minutes ago about these barrels. Steve, could you explain that?
What I discovered today, researching some news articles on the web, out in California, they are setting up this type of drone helicopter that CJ was describing in his vision. And they were described on this news report as small canisters the size of a small hot water heater with a compression detonator in the center of it. And what these canisters contain is a deadly gas that kills human life or living creatures and does not affect the infrastructure. It doesn't do any collateral damage. It only kills people and living organisms. And this is what our military is preparing to, what they're practicing with. And who are they going to use these canisters on? Are they going to use it on our own population? Are they going to use it on the enemy that's invading our country, our shores, our lands? Or are they going to use it on both because of the chaos that is going to come when the people realize that they're being invaded by a foreign army? You figure it out.
That's a very good question. We'll be back in a few moments to possibly answer that question on part 2 of what's going on with the maneuvers, the military maneuvers in Indiana, and why the tanks are headed to the West Coast.
There's also another article I ran across today, and I know we're getting down to the timeline, is the wildfires out west and who is starting them and who's causing it. You'll be interested to find out.
We'll be right back. This is Brother Jackie and Brother Steve and Brother CJ. We'll be right back. Part 2.